Feast Famine explores how climate change relates to food, how it's served, prepared, grown, and distributed. For most of human history, sourcing, preparing, and preserving food was a central focus of time, resources, and skill. Food was found, grown, or hunted by the same community that would be nourished by it, with local practices passed down from generation to generation. Nothing would be wasted from these precious resources, with all nutritious parts eaten and the rest used for clothing, shelter, and household items. It's easy to look around at the convenience of modern life and marvel at all of the progress we've made. This illusion comes at a price. Forests clear-cut for fields, destroying complex ecosystems. Overproduction in agriculture, depleting soil nutrients. Sudden demand for the newest superfoods, depriving groups of their historic staple foods to fill export demand. Dumpsters filled with food waste while community members go to bed hungry. Abundance for some is not abundance for all. Our exhibiting artists investigate the crisis of food production alongside possible solutions, crafted with a thoughtful connection between materials and maker. The works are displayed on a large table in the gallery, an intimate setting that brings to mind packed holiday dinners with extra seats squeezed in, shoulder to shoulder, a dinner party with 11 artists invited to contribute. Near my home, great horned owls call from the forest. During a walk in April 2020, we spied their nest, fuzzy baby owls peeking out. The parents, perched on nearby branches, eyed us. I sensed their awareness. This great predator is unaffected by the pandemic, yet susceptible to humans through loss of habitat. They are extremely adaptable, but at risk from pesticides, land use, and other pollutants that cause environmental change. This body of work acknowledges the non-humans we share our land with, unraveling our relationship with food, stripping us down to predator and prey. We've all seen the images of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch and of turtles having straws pulled from their noses, but what humans often don't realize is that every day we all eat, drink, and breathe in microplastics. Microplastics don't just end up in our oceans. They are also in our freshwater lakes, rivers, and ultimately our tap water. As plastic waste breaks down, it absorbs toxic chemicals found in the water such as plant pesticides. These polluted microplastics then enter the food chain, where organisms consume them, transferring toxins into their bodies, causing tissue damage and liver toxicity. These toxins get passed up the food chain until they are served on our plates. My Takeout, Take-In installation represents the microplastics in our food and water, the continued use of plastic in our daily lives, and how we are literally poisoning ourselves. This quilted placemat was improvised collage style with fabric scraps and hand quilted with embroidery floss. The hexagon, a shape common to both traditional quilting and honeycombs, evokes parallels between human homes and nourishment and the natural world that provides home and nourishment to bees. I intentionally disrupted the ordered way in which the hexagons are traditionally used in quilt construction, reflecting the environmental disruption and disorder that threaten the bee population. Instead of the consistent interlocking pattern we expect in a hexagon quilt, these hexagons tumble and fall into a chaotic pile within an off-kilter frame. This is a reminder that environmental disruption threatens both bees' homes and the safety and food security of humans. In contrast to the jumble of hexagons, gently looping trails of running stitch suggest the dance of the bees in flight, a gesture of hope that the disruption of our ecosystems may yet be reversible. I've chosen to create bowls as a symbol for our need for food. Highly sustainable food production is available when we turn to ancient plants. Bulrushes, daylilies, and onion, for example, grow on all but one continent. These common plants are easily grown, plentiful, and have few natural enemies. Their roots, stems, and flowers are edible and delicious. Bulrushes, abaca, and cotton can be made into useful related objects such as mats, baskets, and ripened bulrush and cotton florets have long been used as garment stuffing, much like kapok. They Dance in the Slough examines notions of what feasting looks like on the Canadian prairies. A golden field glistens across the horizon, weed-free and atop a smooth layer of black topsoil. A sense of prosperity and abundance is offered. Advances in soil science, however, are showing us that this scene is not as picture-perfect as often imagined. This piece brings us beneath the surface of a larger story, where we see the impacts of processes such as over-tilling, over-reliance on chemical sprays, and poor crop residue management negatively reflected in the soil. At the edge of the field, a trio cultivate a small piece of neglected land in a different way. They let go of control and dance in the celebration of nature, secure in the wisdom that we are nature, not separate. The soil below them reflects this. The illuminated cast fish heads in Fish Heads, Fish Heads draw attention to both the aesthetic nature and the visceral quality of the subject. Fish heads are often regarded as secondary use items, and this artwork counters that presumption by offering them as the focus of attention. The trio of salmon heads are accentuated by recycled cobalt glass and LED lighting, given new life as they emerge from the surface. Glass was the logical choice of medium, the glass fish reminiscent of their former incarnation. The carved base has a subtle aquatic appearance. Similar to that of the glass heads in their departure from realistic depiction, the base, given its finish and color, speaks more to what currently is than what previously was. The disposed placemat is a response to single-use disposable items tied to takeout and prepackaged meal kits. These conveniences come with benefits, but also with the side of invisible impacts. The accompanying packaging often can't or won't be recycled. The least memorable part of the meal, the plastic fork that breaks mid-bite, the sticky package of plum sauce, will be forgotten before the meal is even finished, but will remain in the landfill for the rest of our lives. Being a first-generation Chinese-Canadian, my background of food, eating, family, and community has lent itself well to my craft of sustainable chopsticks. During my most recent trip to Asia, there was a trend at restaurants and stalls not to give out disposable chopsticks. While creek-growing and renewable bamboo is used for the majority of these eating tools, they are often difficult to recycle due to hygienic complications and the chemicals used to treat the timbers. I use upcycled waste materials from local craftspeople, cabinet makers, woodworkers, and countertop manufacturers. These scraps would otherwise be sent to the landfill. My goal is to elevate the eating and cooking experience of anyone wanting a unique pair of steel chopsticks with the warmth and texture of wood at the handle interface. These can endure a lifetime of washing and still retain their function. The concept behind this work is life coming full circle. For Métis people, when hunting and gathering, it is traditional rule that you only take what you need and use as much of the animal as possible. The key is no waste. From using a moose femur to flesh hide or sinew for drum making, these practices are still alive and well to this day. What better way to enjoy venison than with the fairy antler that adorned their head? The deer antler spoon, spork, and muck's ox horn pea represent what we harvest from the land. It is my way of showing respect to the spirit of the animals that have sustained us. Working with this medium in my everyday life as a jewelry designer and sculptor, it is a constant reminder to not only be grateful for the resources, but also resourceful with that gratitude. Climate change is having a direct impact on our lakes and waterways. Warmer temperatures and more intense storms have dramatically increased invasive zebra mussel numbers, which in turn impacts phytoplankton, an important food source for our fish. Fish Tales invites viewers to consider the effects that zebra mussels are having on our aquatic ecosystems, which will have a direct impact on the fish we eat. 3 sculptural fish books represent walleye at varying stages of growth. The pages represent their story, the ancient past that they carry with them. One of the fish reflects the form of walleye plagued by circular fish leather discs in the size and number of the flock of zebra mussels. As the zebra mussels take over, the pages begin to disappear, reflecting the urgency for us to take action. Food often brings us together for celebration. It is a part of our daily lives while also offering us comfort and holding memories. I create luscious and luxurious cakes and desserts that act as a vehicle to discuss more serious matters about our food production, gluttony, and ignorant consumption in the Western world. The elaborate detail and extravagance seduces the viewer for a closer inspection, but the disturbing and grotesque reality is quickly revealed. My work explores a side of consumption and excess most of us would prefer to ignore, hide away, and pretend doesn't exist.